I'm delighted to say that this week we get to speak and find out a little bit about the story of Paul Newbould. And so, Paul, great to have you join us. It would be great initially just to hear a little bit about how you became a Christian.
Well, I was brought up in a Christian home. My mum, I respected my mum's faith a lot, confirmed, I was choir boy, a server, all that sort of thing. But then it was a bit of a connection with God in a remote way. And it wasn't until I went to teach training college when I was 21, I found by the end of that first week that my 5 friends that I'd made in that accommodation had all talked to me about this personal relationship with Jesus. And that I hadn't heard anything like that before. And so it got me thinking, and I was arguing and discussing lots of questions that were in my head. But by Christmas, I thought, I've had enough of this. So I went up a hill on Boxing Day, talking to God, and I was saying, I really don't understand all of this. I don't understand. All my questions have not been answered, but I do know for sure that going the other way is wrong. So I'm going to go for it. So I made a decision to go for it and make that leap of faith. So that was in 26th of December, 1973.
Wow, that's impressive to know exactly when. And so that's nearly 50 years. But I know that probably life hasn't always been easy and there have been ups and downs, etc. I'd be interesting if you're able to share some of what that's looked like and how, knowing Christ has made a difference and what's helped, particularly Paul, on that journey.
It's been an adventure, real adventure with God, and I think I've definitely known his sense of purpose and his presence in my life through that time. But there have been 2 really tough seasons, and one was 12 years ago when everything around me crashed. My marriage, my finances, my job, everything. And then I crashed my car and that was upside down. I crawled out of it. I was unscathed, thank goodness. But it was as if my life was a complete car crash at that time. And how has God helped me? Well, I just hung on to God. I hung on to him. I think hanging on to his little finger, or maybe he was hanging on to my little finger. I don't know. But he definitely carried me through that time as I hung on to him. And I discovered a new appetite for prayer and the Bible through that. And he used friends. He used his God squad. He used people in the church to be his hands and his feet and his heart. And it rebuilt me. It rebuilt my faith with, as I said, that new appetite for him and his word. Oh, and the second time, yes. Now, the second time was just a few months ago. It was in March when in lockdown, when bereavement. I mean, my friendship with Martin in the church was such a close friend of mine. And the isolation and that time of bereavement, it knocked me sideways. And I think it activated a problem from my childhood because my dad died when I was very young. And I didn't have much relation. And we didn't talk much about death in those days. Well, not in my family anyway. And it really knocked me sideways. And I think it was the isolation, it was the bereavement. I thought that was it. But then I thought the third big factor was that I wasn't through lockdown. I wasn't getting the chance to do the work that I'm here to do. I wasn't getting the chance to bless others. And that really, I feel almost selfish sometimes. That gives me a thrill. That gives me a purpose. It's part of my life's adventure. And I really feel it's what I'm here on planet Earth for. So I was deprived of that. But through it was a wave of depression. It really was. I needed counselling, antidepressants, which I'm still on, and I needed my friends, and I needed the fresh air. But God really has orchestrated that process, and I'm now in a much more confident place, and really looking forward to what this year has to offer.
Fantastic. So, well, I mean, really appreciate you sharing in, quite openly and vulnerably, Paul, and just the reality of life and walking with him in the midst of that. Just as we finish, so in this season, as we look forward, what are you particularly excited about? Or, and I know there's lots of challenges in this season still, but any particular things that you're excited about?
I think going through tough times makes life a bit more black and white for me. It has done anyway. That I think this is our opportunity. This is our season as a church to really seize a great opportunity. That church can't be all about Sunday because it isn't all about Sunday anyway.
Absolutely.
The church is worldwide. It's invisible. And so we need to find the resources that God's got for us to mobilize ourselves in mission and in the community. And so, yeah, I think I get that sense of adventure, that sense of challenge and purpose, and as something that we really need to hold. And that, especially because of lockdown and what we're going through, I think that there's that need to not neglect to meet together, to not neglect one another, and to find whatever means we can to do mission together, to do fellowship together, to break bread together, even when it's online and it's just me in my home and you in yours. I think that's so important. So I've got a sense of adventure about this year.
Well, really appreciate you sharing, and I think there's some really great things for all of us to take hold of there. But it's a privilege to have you as part of the church family and to be walking with you. So thanks for sharing today, Paul.
It's a pleasure. Thank you, Andy.